You ever wanted to play a game where you can swing around like Spider-Man, uppercut Tony Stark, who's currently unleashing a massive repulsor blast which is about to kill your entire team? But what you didn't know is that there's a Mr. Fantastic down there who was prepared to counter that, but then this one girl, Magic, was actually teleporting to Mr. Fantastic in order to kill them. But what she didn't know is that Doctor Strange was actually making a portal in front of her. Yeah, that's literally Marvel Rivals. Marvel Rivals is a game that came out of left field. Like, literally nobody asked for this, but oh my god, am I so glad someone delivered. It's a fever dream to be able to play as all the characters that you can in this game. And the one thing I really want to call attention to is that every character feels like you're playing a version of them straight out of their games or comics. Oh, like with Spider-Man. You can see how he's swinging around, beating people up? Yeah. Yeah, you can do that in Marvel Rivals too.
Oh, Spider-Man.
Not real life though.
What? Back to my room.
So Marvel Rivals already looks super promising. It has tons of characters in the game which all play super well and they all act like their common counterparts, but you might be asking, if they all play like this and they can all fly around like they're in a comic book, then wouldn't that make the game a little bit imbalanced? And that's the brilliant part. It isn't. Marvel Rivals and their developer NetEase aren't cowards. They were like, we're gonna do that, and then we're gonna balance the game too. Iron Man may be able to fly into the sky above everyone else, providing long-range support, but he's also incredibly frail, so any character with long range on the ground, like the Punisher for example, can easily kill him. Or most rushdown characters, like Spider-Man, well they can't go in, hit some people, and then get out. They're hard countered by healers. Like, unless you find an isolated target, any tank or even some DPS characters can just easily absorb all of Spider-Man's damage and then get shot right back up to full when he runs out of abilities to use. Because of this, matchup's the key word in Marvel Rivals. I cannot count the amount of times, actually I can, it's been like 5 times, but there have been quite a few times when our team was losing, and I realized that the character I was playing was a part of that. So, I switched off of that character into another, and not just like to a support or something, like even from a tank to a DPS for example, and in those situations our team started to do a lot better, and we even ended up winning those rounds. In other words, Marvel Rivals is like a big game of rock, paper, scissors, lizard, Spock. Every team composition has specific strengths and weaknesses, and because of that, individual impact is massively increased as a result. All that, and I haven't even talked about the gameplay. Just the characters. God, I hope this game doesn't pull an Overwatch 2. Marvel Rivals has the same gameplay as any other hero shooter, plain and simple. Push the payload, a best of 3 capture the objective, or defending a point turning in to push the payload. The biggest with Marvel Rivals is that none of these things are reinventing the wheel, and that's because the maps and the game modes aren't the core attraction. They're all supplementary to the characters. Like, oh, destructible terrain in the game, oh! I think I used that like once. I do think the game could use a bit more variety in game mode types, which subsequently means more maps as well, since I can acknowledge, even if I haven't gotten bored of anything in Marvel Rivals yet, that a lot of the games I play feel very samey, but I'm sure that'll come in future updates. Also, it's probably because I play a lot of the same characters. The only other thing I'd like to say, at least in my limited experience up to this point, is that whenever you win a game in Marvel Rivals, it doesn't really feel like you've won, if you know what I mean. Like, whenever the game ends, there's no, like, epic music that plays before it or anything like that while you're closing in on the objective. Even overtime doesn't feel that it's interesting. It's just the game abruptly ends just like that. I don't know why I feel this way. Maybe I'm crazy, but it's like I just don't feel invested in each individual game to care that much when the game is over. And personally, I think that's fucking great. Marvel Rivals isn't an overly competitive game, as I mentioned earlier. It can be since the It can be since the balancing is so good, but at the end of the day, you're playing a game with a character named Squirrel Girl, who the entire internet wants to f***. This is not something you need to take seriously. Hey, welcome to an editor's note after the 30 extra hours I've played on this game, and I think that my analysis here that my investment wasn't as high in Marvel Rivals is something present in Season 0, where I felt matchmaking was typically much less likely to be a stomp than it currently is in Season 1. This was also due to my relative inexperience with the game at the time. As I said, 30 extra hours contributes to me having a greater investment in Marvel Rivals, I guess. I still stand by my statement that Marvel Rivals isn't an overly competitive game, despite being balanced to the degree that it can be. You're playing a game where a K-pop idol has more health than the perfect human, Spider-Man, and a literal fucking god, bro. Back to the episode. But really, I love that more than anything else. The characters and just how fluid the movement is in Marvel Rivals is what dictates how much I enjoy this game, not whether or not I win or lose. You could argue that this is also a good thing, like objectively, because this would lead to less toxicity in the community, since people aren't nearly as sweaty about the game, but I'm no expert on that subject, so I'll just leave this on the table as a hypothesis. I don't even know if the game actually is uncompetitive. Either way, I personally love this, and hope the devs don't go magically, ooga booga, you have to win now, otherwise we'll chomp off your balls. Wait, don't they do that to dogs? Marvel Rivals also still has the 3-class system, as I mentioned earlier. You got your duelist characters, or DPSs, who excel in dealing immense amounts of damage to their opponents, and typically go after healers. Then there are vanguards, or tanks, who excel in blocking damage or taking the focus of the DPSs, and then there are strategists or healers, who focus on keeping all characters in tip-top shape at all times. My favorite part of how all classes are portrayed in Marvel Rivals is that no class is weak. Healers can do more than just heal. Jeff the Shark springs to mind immediately as a character who can do this. Tanks could do more than just tank. Venom comes to mind. I mean, look at this shit. And DPSs are the fun class in the first place, so there's no need to talk about how they're fun in this game as well, because they always are. These classes are the core focus of the gameplay when you're actually in the game. Take out the enemy's tanks, and then your foes are going to get killed in 2 hits. Take out the enemy's support, and they can no longer heal. And finally, if you take out the DPSs... I'm kidding. Take out your enemy DPSs and you don't have to worry about the aforementioned holes being put in your team. All this talk of Marvel Rivals, you know what it makes people want to play a game of it, damn it. And you know, there's no better way than to showcase what Marvel Rivals has to offer than to play a game and commentate over it. So, what do you say? I mean, I have this in the background, but let's get into a game where I have slightly more experience. That's right. We're no longer looking at this footage, which was when I had 10 hours on the game. Now we're looking at the footage when I have 40, baby. Alright, first and foremost, I just gotta start up the game, alright? Just gotta compile shaders now. This is gonna take a while. Alright, and there we are on the title screen. Let's just go to the play menu and get into a match, and oh, match found. That was really fast. Now let's just wait for the game to load. This is taking a while. Yep. When am I gonna get into the match? I've been talking a lot about the positives of Marvel Rivals recently, but it wouldn't be a fair review if I also didn't bring up the game's negatives, one of which being the game's optimization. As of course, I am the luckiest man alive. I got insanely lucky and pretty much dodged all issues with this game's optimization because I got an extra 32 gigabytes of RAM for Christmas. The reason that this would actually help is because from what I've gathered, the main problem with Marvel Rivals is that there's a memory leak in it, which forces you to use all 16 gigabytes of your memory even when you don't need to use it. I have 32 gigabytes of RAM. I think that's like memory. I don't really know. I'm not an expert. All I know is that this isn't good. I also know that because of this lack of optimization that a lot of my friends cannot play the game on PC with me, which takes away a massive form of enjoyment since I can't play the game with my friends, and I want to also play in ranked without solo queuing. And there's no cross-platform for ranked for my few friends who play on console, which, mind you, I'm not saying that should exist. It's just, besides that, I've experienced games where my character has been rendered in until like 30 seconds into the match. My friend k-lowe, of course, has experienced this way more than I have since he has a PC that doesn't have 32 gigabytes of RAM. Sometimes games take upwards of 2 minutes to load, etc, etc. This, I will be honest, is not unacceptable. Is the optimization bad? Yeah, but at the same time, for my computer at least, there are just a lot of games that I really want to play on PC, but I can't just because this game can't handle it. This PC can't handle it, yeah. Like, where's people this mad because they can't play Fortnite on minimum graphics, eh? These games look incredibly similar graphically, like I get that Fortnite needs 100 players to load, but then what about games like Halo Infinite? Games like these are literally unplayable on my PC, and if we're going to hold them accountable for their shitty optimization, then why should we hold Marvel Rivals accountable? You know what I'm saying? My bottom line is that Marvel Rivals is not the worst optimized game in the world, and when there's so many other things that are good about this game, I don't know why you would dwell on just this one singular bad aspect that is the optimization, when not only are there better things to complain about in this game, but at the same time, it's really not that bad. Unless you literally can't play the game on PC because of this shoddy optimization. In which case, fair, but you can still play it on console. You filthy casual! Sorry, the next player came out. Alright, with that out of the way, and after 5 hours of loading, here we are at the character select screen. So, let me just pick, Spider-Man. I don't know why I hesitated so much. I pick him literally every damn game.
3, 2, 1, go!
Now getting into the actual game, I want to talk about something. Yeah, that is what a commentary video is about. But what I want to talk about is how much variation is in every game of Marvel Rivals. Depending on what character you play, you could argue that you transfer to an entirely different video game genre. Exaggeration. The Punisher, classic third-person shooter. Luna Snow, tower defense simulator, but the towers are your DPS running straight into the loving hands of death. And for my character, Spider-Man, you might as well boot up Marvel Spider-Man, because it's basically one-to-one. Spider-Man! Me and you! Before I continue with that point, let me quickly go over what Spider-Man does in game, because you're going to be watching his gameplay for the next 8 minutes. Spider-Man is a backline assassin, with all of his abilities either being designed to combo foes or get the hell out of there. Because of this, Spider-Man is incredibly mobile and has high burst damage, making him ideal for picking off low HP targets. The issue with this, of course, is that you don't always fight low HP targets, and the prevalence of healers in Rivals only exacerbates this issue, since almost every healer healing can make Spider-Man's full combo basically null with 2 seconds of left clicking. There are a lot of other things right and wrong with Spider-Man, such as his long cooldowns and ability to choose his fights respectively. But the short version is that Spider-Man is a poopy bad character that should be buffed. I'm kidding, of course. But you see just how in depth just Spider-Man is in this game? That's what I mean when I said that every character has a unique playstyle, which makes you feel like you're almost playing in a different genre with each character you play. They're just all masterfully designed with a very unique catalog of abilities. Here's my tier list for how much I like every character, and let's get back into the game. Oh, it's already over. Another negative I neglected to mention thus far was the matchmaking within Marvel Rivals, because even though I said individual impact is increased compared to what you'd expect in a 6v6 game, there's only so much you can do as a solo in a team-based game. There's no I in team, right? Due to the way matchmaking is designed to keep you engaged, Marvel Rivals wants you to keep a flat 50-50 win-loss ratio. Yeah, that's a true statement, by the way. Where's my sources? My sources, I made it the fuck up. Whether or not there is actually something wrong with Marvel Rivals matchmaking, or if it's just people making shit up, you should still expect to get into a lot of stomps when you're playing Marvel Rivals, because at least I know I have run into my fair share of stomps during the game's runtime. And this goes doubly so for when you're playing ranked, but in the case of ranked, there's a lot more stuff wrong with that game mode that I'm just gonna slide over that in this review, because I'm gonna be honest, I could make an entire separate video on the rank scene of Marvel Rivals. There's a lot wrong with it. There's a lot of good too, don't get me wrong, but there's just a few more things I want to talk about before the video ends now, so let me just go over them now. For one, Marvel Rivals looks good, okay? It may not be photorealistic, it may not look like Persona, but it's just nicely stylized and easy on the eyes. The map design in this game is also great, as there's tons of alternate routes, interesting geometry, and best of all for a spider like me, health packs are very easy to intuit the location of. Well, besides on the Clintar, but that's just because that map's second.
Now I've got something to prove.
What the fuck does that mean? But that's just because this map's second section is a little bit of a clusterfuck. But all this pales in comparison to the biggest thing that I neglected to mention thus far. Team-up abilities. Team-up abilities allow for certain characters to get bonuses when other characters are on your team. Iron Man, for example, gets to have a Gamma power-up when Hulk is on his team, and Spider-Man, for another example, gets the touch of Clintar when Venom is on his team. Both of these being additional moves, which make Iron Man and Spider-Man's kit feel complete. These team-up abilities are super creative and fun, adding a breath of fresh air to Marvel Rivals' gameplay loop. And yeah, that's all I really wanted to talk about for this video. Wait, I have one more thing, actually. This is unscripted, so forgive me if this part seems a little bit sporadic, but I just want to touch on one more thing before we wrap things up, and that's the balancing of the game. I want to say that the balancing of Marvel Rivals, the reason why I didn't dedicate an entire section in my script to it, was because the balancing, I think, is overall pretty good. Yeah, there's characters like Hawkeye who are really good, and there are characters like Black Widow and Scarlet Witch who are really bad. But at the same time, I'd say that this, it doesn't matter too much. Black Widow and Scarlet Witch, no, just Black Widow is the only character I would say that has completely zero viability. Every other character at every rank besides the top, I would say, is quite viable, right? And this goes doubly so for the characters at the top of the meta. Like, Hela, for example, is notoriously known as one of the worst characters to play against in Marvel Rivals. But when you're playing at lower ranks, nobody can aim, so Hela is just dog shit. My point is that Marvel Rivals is balancing. I didn't bring it up in this review because by and large it's fine. Okay, there's not too many issues with it, and anything else I didn't bring up in this review, feel free to put in the comments section, right? I am super willing to debate anything with you guys down there. I am super willing to expand all my thoughts that I put in this review, anything like that. And if I had anything wrong, put it there. And yeah, that is basically all I want to talk about. So beyond the lackluster matchmaking and the optimization issues and the Chinese censorship, actually I should have probably mentioned that earlier, I believe that Marvel Rivals is a damn good game, and one that you can tell that the developers put their hearts and souls into, with the amount of extra content in this game that just makes me feel like a kid again. From seasonal game modes like Clash of the Dancing Lions, to the built-in pages and pages of lore and story as to why these Marvel heroes are playing Overwatch, to the great skins, Marvel Rivals is really quite good. You know what? I think I'm going to buy one of those skins. No, not the one Invisible Woman skin or Venom skin, which has any kind of appeal. No, I'm buying a skin for Spider-Man. Nice.